Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This right here is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Wonderful to have you along for the ride. I feel like I've been doing this a lot lately. This is a different reason, but I do apologize for the late start time for the live audience. Little Toots had a bit of a rough night and is now having a bit of a rough morning. So, Mommy's now taking care of it. Daddy had the early shift. Mommy now handling Little Toots' issue. Looks like she's going to be missing her. Let's see, it's her last week preschool. Kindergarten starts in a couple of weeks. Yeah, so she's going to be missing one of the days of her last week there at the daycare that she's at, preschool that she's at, and she's loving it. But yeah, unfortunately, I have to miss a day today. So Mommy and Daddy have had a busy morning already. But anyway, welcome into the show. Wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about Bryce Harper today. Wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about that Rob Thompson fella. Wanted to make sure that we talked about Tim McManus' story, which actually broke at the same time we started the show yesterday. So I want to get into that conversation with you and John Middleton's comments regarding the Philadelphia Phillies as they relate to their fan base and the buzzword accountability. Everyone wants accountability. Nobody wants any player, any coach, any general manager, any team president, even any owner getting a free pass, just skating by. No. You must be held accountable. And I say this with zero bias. One of the things well, first off, the opinion is I think Philadelphia holds their teams accountable more than any other city. And I've been around the block. I don't just say that as someone who has never left the city of Philadelphia. I have left the city of Philadelphia plenty of times, and I don't think any fan base in the country of the United States holds any team more accountable or their teams more accountable than the Philadelphia Phillies and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philadelphia 76ers and the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers I love for a long time. Fans kind of, no matter what, just always loyal and not loyal is even the wrong word, just always supportive of their team. Sellout crowds as of recently, it's dwindled. But before that, for a long time, no, they're going to do it this year. Then they wouldn't do it. They do the same thing and then they wouldn't do it. But still a great, phenomenal fan base to which I am a part of with that Flyers fan base. But no city in the country holds their teams more accountable than the city of Philadelphia. And I know Mad Dog Russo was recently saying, he was really speaking of recently, 1981, very recent, talking about the fans being some great sports city or giving some great sports city to their team. Yeah, not Philadelphia. Really? Here's the bottom line. We always give a damn. Sometimes to a fault. Is every team always worth the price of admission, which is steep? No. But that doesn't mean we stop caring. And that made me think of an age-old argument that I think I've had for every year I've been speaking into a microphone about Philadelphia sports. People talk about fair weather fans. And I remember, not to bring up ancient history and not to make sure that Jimmy Rollins catches strays over here, but when Jimmy Rollins said the thing about Philadelphia fans being fair weather, when I think of a fair weather fan, I think of somebody who jumps on like, oh, I love the Lakers now. Oh, nope, love the Bulls now. Oh, nope, love the Lakers now. Oh, love the Heat now. That's what I think of a fair weather fan, just constantly bandwagon hopping. I think of them as one and the same. When Philadelphia fans boo, that is better than them not giving a damn. And athletes I always thought should understand that better than anybody. Because anyone who's ever played sports at any level should understand that when the coach stops talking to you, that's when you should be concerned. When the coach is trying to coach you up, that's where he sees potential in you. That's where he sees, I could have a starter on my hands. I could have a leading scorer on my hands, a leading hitter on my hand. I could have a great pitcher on my hand, a great shooter on my hands. When they stop coaching you up, that's when it's time to be concerned. So if Philadelphia fans just sat in the stands and didn't do anything, or they didn't show up, they didn't watch sports talk on the old web here or on television or listen on the radio, that's when it's time to be concerned. So Philadelphia fans holding their teams accountable, as John Middleton greatly understands because he was one of them and still is one of them. Now he just has got the ka-ching to make the decisions. He still understands it. He still gets it. And as someone, I've interviewed John Middleton 3 or 4 times. And every single time I walk away with the idea of this guy is still very much a fan. It's not just a show that he's putting on for everybody. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think the guy shy away from a camera either. But I do believe when he speaks, it is genuine about how much of that fan really exists, still exists in a man that is a billionaire and a man that now owns the team he grew up rooting for. The managing partner, John Middleton. So he spoke to Todd Zalecki, MLB.com, had some great quotes about this team, had some great quotes about holding this team accountable and the relationship between the fan base and the team. And not even just the team, but the franchise. And he made a great differentiation between private business and a public franchise. I thought that was a really interesting way to put it. That I think really breaks it down well. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Tim McManus's story that came out yesterday morning regarding the Eagles' depth chart and what that looks like right now, whether it's the right guard position, whether it's the outside corner position, and how I am not the only one that is very interested. And I still think it's weird to say this because I can't remember a time where I've said this. I am interested in watching Eagles linebackers. What? Still feels really weird to say that, but I am. And Nakobe Dean seems to be climbing the charts. His game in New England against the Patriots at Foxborough at Gillette Stadium was great. It was a great game, and it showed you a lot from him. Granted, it's the preseason, but when you see a guy get upfield going after the quarterback, and there's a quick pass out to the flat for a bubble screen. Oh, my goodness gracious. And you see him after 2 other Eagles miss their tackles. You see Nakobe Dean come into the frame, and Nick Sirianni talked about it the other day. That's a guy that's going out there and showing you that he wants to, of course, make the team, which he's going to do, but also be a difference maker on this team. Nakobe Dean said earlier in the week at his press conference that he is healthy, he's strong, he feels ready to go. He feels like he's really ready to prove himself, and that he was worthy of the absolute worst, being a second-round pick. Still that chip on his shoulder. That he's willing to go out there. He's ready to go out there, and he's actually ready to make something happen and be a playmaker for this team. Hey, red carpet for me of opportunity. That's rolled out to Nakobe Dean this year. Zach Bond, you want to beat Zach Bond? I think you can beat Zach Bond. Personally, I would love, not just for the fact that Nakobe Dean's been a friend of the show, he's been on a couple times, not just for that fact, but the fact that Devin White and Nakobe Dean have a history together of competing and pushing one another. Those two playing next to one another in the middle of the Eagles defense. You talk about chemistry. You talk about communication that has to happen at this level and in this Vic Fangio defense, which is talking about buzzwords like accountability with John Middleton, communication with Vic Fangio. This defense has to be able to communicate greatly and have an understanding, almost have an instinct about themselves to understand what the guy's going to be doing in the middle, what the guy's going to be doing on the outside. And when you talk about the linebacker positions right now, that is no exception. Nakobe Dean, Devin White potentially being the starting guys. Devin White seems like the lock. The article also talks about Isaiah Rodgers being the number 2 corner to Darius Slay, and Rodgers and Slay being on the outside, with Quenya Mitchell being the slot corner, being the nickel corner, or in Vic Fangio terms, the nickel, eventually being a corner. That's the way he describes it. So we'll get into that conversation today as well. And the Phillies, away from John Middleton, talking about baseball, talking about games being played. The Philadelphia Phillies open up a 3-game series in Atlanta against the Braves tonight at 7:20. Phillies 73-51 on the season. They are tied with the Dodgers. Catch. It looks like the Phillies might catch Justin Verlander in their series coming up in a couple of weeks, so we'll check that out as well, but that's far down the line. But there was some news, and this is in no way, shape, or form rooting for injury, but it is worth noting that now the Atlanta Braves are without another one of their stars. And granted, Austin Riley has had a struggle-filled season. He seems to always, when it matters, beat up on the Phillies. This has been an exception to that rule. This year, Austin Riley, going up against the Phillies, is only hitting .217, and he's got one home run. And the one home run he did hit came at a losing effort to the Phillies. But Austin Riley has certainly been a thorn in the Phillies' side. This season, with the Braves now going into today 7 games behind the Phillies for first place in the National League and first place in the NL East, the Atlanta Braves have lost Spencer Strider, Sean Murphy, Ronald Acuna Jr., Michael Harris, the second they lost for 52 games, Ozzie Albies, obviously, and now Austin Riley. Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna, Spencer Strider, at least done for the rest of the season. Austin Riley is done for 2 to 8 weeks with his broken hand after taking a pitch off his hand Saturday, I think it was, or Sunday, in Los Angeles. The Braves just keep getting beat around. Absolutely just keep getting beat around. And look, I'm never one to say like, oh, well, they were hurt, so it should be given to you. Well, yeah, okay, that should happen. However, I'm not going to spike the proverbial football because of another injury to the Braves. But here's what is nice. The Braves are not as good as they should be this year. And the Phillies, for the most part this season, has taken advantage of that up until recently. Which brings us to John. By the way, Zach Wheeler will be on the Hill tonight. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But here's that's a perfect segue into John Middleton's comments to Todd Zlecki of MLB.com. Here's the first one. You want to talk about the Phillies going through this stretch of barely being a 500 team since May 24th? Well, here's John Middleton on this. When people talk about shaking off the cobwebs, here's what he told Todd Zlecki of MLB.com. Quote, "It's time off the cobwebs and start playing like it's May or June." Those are pretty good in those months. Middleton said, the Rangers and Diamondbacks had time to recover from midseason struggles last year, and they got hot. Hopefully, we will too. But you can't just assume that's going to happen. You want to make it happen. This is the attitude that he's not putting out there in public. This is the attitude that he's also putting in that clubhouse. And one of the things that I love hearing, and I've heard this from multiple people at the Citizens Bank Park over the years regarding John Middleton, when fans are booing, John Middleton's not sitting up there, smoking cigars, sipping bourbon, just kicking his feet up, being like, they're here, money. They're here, I'm still making money. No, he's not doing that. He's pissed off. There is no exception. There is no difference between the way he's feeling and the way the fans are feeling. And that is genuine. When he comes off and he says something like that, that is a very genuine thing. And that, you know what that means? That means at least you have the comfort as a fan, and that I enjoy this comfort as well, of knowing that the guy that has the power, the guy that's signing the checks, he's pissed off too. That it's not just some act that he's putting out there. It is genuinely how he feels. And that is comforting, because I don't just get the sense that it's some far-off owner that doesn't give a damn and can certainly make this team look like, make this team, I can move him to, Oklahoma City tomorrow and whatever. If that's more money there, that's more money there. I take a lot more comfort in that idea of a guy actually giving a damn about not only the team, but the fan base, and not just cashing checks, as they say. So I love that he's at least acknowledging the problem. And what fan hasn't said this also? You can't just assume it's going to happen. Oh, we're just going to shake it off, right? Like we've talked about that on this show. Like we've said, what if they are just a 500 team? What if the beginning of the season, what if that was all just padding the stats, so to speak? And if the Braves I think we're back. Are we back? I hope we're back. Nice to see you again. So getting back to John Middleton, one of the things that I found very interesting was the second thing about the highlight here, which is about accountability. And he talks about what he talks about in number one here. The first thing about shaking off the cobwebs and everything. That's why you go out and you spend money on Zach Wheeler. Here's what he says. This is what he told Todd Zlecki of MLB.com. This is why it's important to go out and sign people like Bryce Harper. This is why you pay Zach Wheeler $40+ million a year for 3 years. It's because this is how the fans react. It's important to them. They appreciate it. They recognize it. They love that. I love that. I have other owners who look at me and say, we don't get this. It's remarkable how special this city is as a fan base. And he goes on to say, it's why I keep telling everybody it may be a privately held business that we own, but it's not a private organization. It's a very public organization. It's a stewardship. We have an obligation. We are accountable to the fans and to the city. If you don't approach it that way, you shouldn't be an owner, in my opinion. I applaud that. Put that in the handbook of being an owner in sports, because I've never seen it described like this by an owner, and it's so true. Public organization, private organization. It's a private organization, but a very public organization. Here's what I'll never say. Like it goes along the same lines of what I always say about when fans use the word we have to do this, we have to do that, we should do this, we should do that. And, some smart asses will be like, whoa, you play for the team? Well, no, but you are the Philadelphia part of the Philadelphia Phillies. They're literally representing you. They're representing your city. And if that wasn't true, then nobody would go to parades. Like, what? They're representing your city. So for the fans, you guys say we all you want. Are you guys giving a damn? Are you guys spending money on tickets? You guys spending money on merchandise? That sounds like an investment to me. So, yeah, you want to say we? Have at it. I don't give a damn. And John Middleton acknowledges that as well. When he talks about how it's a public organization, it's a public entity. Oh, hell yeah. He might be the managing partner of it all, right? He might be holding all the chips, or more chips than anybody, I should say. The majority of the chips, I'll say. But he understands what his obligation is. And I believe every owner, it's not just a business. That's why it always puts a bad taste in my mouth when Joshua Harris, for instance, is buying the Devils or buying the Commanders. Like, you don't give it. This is just a business venture for you, it feels like. That's why I don't like that. Do I fault him for it? No, it's an opportunity as a businessman to make more money for himself. Good for him, as long as he understands. And I know the Sixers did a great thing at Clemente Park, my old stomping ground in Fairmount or Spring Garden section of Philadelphia, to be more technical, right? For the community, and that's wonderful. But overall, I don't get the same sense of investment. And how can you when you didn't grow up here to root for the team at the same time? Even if you didn't grow up in Philadelphia, you grew up somewhere else, but you're always a Sixers fan. It would make more sense to me. But with John Middleton, you get the sense that he is absolutely one of us, which is also kind of scary because should one of us have the finger on the button? But I love the idea of the man that's signing the checks that has the same type of mentality that we do when it comes to watching this team play over the last couple of months of the season. And quite frankly, just call it unacceptable. And you can't just rest on your laurels and be like, well, you know what? End of August, in September, just like the last couple of years, we'll really pick it up. And last year, they didn't even really pick it up in September. It was a little scary. 2 years ago, a little scary before making it into the playoffs as well. Phillies kept it interesting. You want to talk about meaningful games in September? The Phillies might be trying to give us those meaningful games in September. You know what I'd actually root for? You know what I'd actually love? This goes against every fiber of my being. I don't want meaningful games in September. Maybe a couple, but maybe by the last week of the season, we're not playing meaningful games anymore. So how about this? More specifically, in the last week of the season, give me meaningless games. Be so ahead of the Braves, be so comfortably ahead of the Dodgers that you feel great. Can we do that? That's what I'm going to be rooting for. Meaningless games in September in the positive way. Not in the, so out of it. Oh, the Eagles are 2-0. You know what I mean? I still want the Eagles to be 2-0 as well. Maybe, let's go for 3-0. But when it comes to this team, this Phillies team, give me the last week of September. Right off the war. Give me the last week of September being like, wow, Rafael Marchand's hitting the ball well. No? Oh, Scott Kingery's back up in the majors. Let's see what he's got going on. By the way, Scott Kingery, the last 2 months, tearing it up in the minor leagues. Overall, on-base percentage is not all that impressive. But the last 2 months, he's like a 250, 255 over the last 2 months. Or 355 over the last 2 months. Not too shabby. In August, it's 375. That's pretty damn good. 22 home runs. Come on up, Scott Kingery. That's what I'm rooting for. Meaningless games in September. Dawned on me yesterday when I was reading that article. As far as this series goes, and look, you could go down the avenue of everybody's hurt for the Braves. You should sweep this series. Well, you should have swept the series against the Nationals, and you didn't, and they suck. The Braves at least know how to win, and I'd like to see the Phillies go down there to Atlanta and just put them out of their misery. You have 7 games coming up here against the Braves. 7 games. You have this 3-game series, and you have a 4-game series coming up a little bit later in 2 weeks. Handle that business. Just make it between you and the Mets. Just knock the Braves out. Take their soul. You know what I mean? Put their soul on the injured list. Their soul is on the IL for the rest of the season. Yeah, they're still fighting for a wild card spot. But as far as the NL East goes, handle that business. And in the event that you have to face the Braves again in the postseason, just give me every ounce of more confidence, more confidence that you're just going to knock them out when you face them, if you face them in the postseason. You do have Zach Wheeler on the hill tonight. Then you'll have Aaron Nola tomorrow. Then Christopher Sanchez. And then Taijuan Walker or Ranger Suarez. Personally, I'd like to see Ranger back in the swing of things as fast as humanly possible. That's what I'm looking at for this Phillies series. Put it on a T-shirt. Meaningless games in September. Last week of September, to be more specific. So that's the way that series starts out tonight, 7:20. The Mets won last night. Of course they won like this. Did you see how the Mets won last night? The Mets, by the way, right now are 8.5 games behind the Phillies for first place in the NL East. As far as the wild card standings, we'll probably give you that as well. As far as the wild card standings go in the National League, the Padres are up there, number 1 spot. The Diamondbacks are up there. Braves and the Mets are separated by a game and a half right now in the National League. The Braves could very well miss the playoffs, and the Mets could get on a high horse, and all of a sudden, well, they've been on a high horse for a while. Get up there to the number 3 wild card spot. But did you see the way the Mets won their game last night? Who did they face in the bottom of the 9th inning at Citi Field? Who did they get a walk-off home run against in the bottom of the 9th inning at Citi Field? None other than Sir Anthony Dominguez. Francisco Alvarez walked it off with a solo home run, bottom of the 9th inning. I saw the highlight of it on SportsCenter, and Keith Hernandez, Rob Darling, and Cohen, their play-by-play guy. Hey, what would you do in this situation? It was a 3-0 count to Francisco Alvarez. Do you give Francisco Alvarez the green light? And both Darling and Hernandez like, no, you don't give him a green light. He's got 5 home runs on the season. We're not going to give him a green light. Why would you give him a green light? They gave him the green light, and he whammied it out of the park for the walk-off home run. You love to see it. Sir Anthony Dominguez. Thanks a lot. I say we love to see it. Sarcastically, of course. All right, let's talk about your Philadelphia Eagles. A little bit of a slow day yesterday as far as camp went and all that stuff, but things are picking back up today. Eagles are getting ready for Saturday, 1 o'clock kickoff, which is still weird at Lincoln Financial Field against the Vikings. Anyway, a couple interesting things from Tim McManus of ESPN yesterday. It came out just as we were doing the show. I don't know if you guys have your rooting interest or if you just want Vic Fangio deciding If you already know who's going to be the starting outside corner opposite Darius Slay, if you have a rooting interest for it, I'd love to hear it. Hit me up in the comments. But as of right now, according to Tim McManus, the position battle seems to be narrowing. The focus of the head coach, focus of Vic Fangio, seems to be narrowing. And it seems as if right now, newcomer Isaiah Rodgers will be the starting outside corner opposite Darius Slay. And it seems like Quenyon Mitchell, which speaks volumes to his versatility, will be your starting nickel. Not corner, but nickel, according to Vic Fangio. The best thing about this for me, first off, if you're better than Keely Ringo, and Vic Fangio has been very honest about this throughout training camp, and I love this aspect because I also think this is very real. A good coach, coordinator or coach, he understands who the best player is, and he understands that the players understand who the best player is. And he kind of posed it earlier on in training camp at his first press conference, as a matter of fact, in a way that was like, I don't pick the players. The players pick the players. Like when you talk about your starting 11 on defense, the players are going to go ahead and pick that for you. And I know some people might say, oh, what about Howie Roseman? I'm sure he's involved, but you're not bringing in Vic Fangio to tell Vic Fangio what to do. All right. I certainly believe that Vic Fangio is going to have final say and has final say over his defensive roster. Howie Roseman will buy the groceries in a lot of instances with some input from Vic Fangio, but Vic Fangio is responsible for cooking the dinner and plating the food. And presentation is going to be a big deal. Plating is going to be a huge deal with this defense. So earlier in training camp, when he was talking about the players picking who will be the starters, all he has to do is acknowledge it. The cream will rise to the top, and he just has to acknowledge that it's there. So if right now Isaiah Rodgers was a little surprising to me, considering the time he missed and how hard it might be to get back into the swing of things. And I know you can work out all you want, but then not only you coming back into the NFL, you're coming back into a complicated, communication-filled Vic Fangio defense. For all intents and purposes, it looks like, according to Tim McManus, he is taking the starting reins to be opposite Darius Slay in the upcoming season. One of the most positive things about that is that, okay, I know Keely Ringo is a good corner. I know Keely Ringo is a good corner. I know that. So if you're picking a guy that has been playing better than Keely Ringo and you feel will be better than Keely Ringo in your defense, then I already know the bar. The bar is Keely Ringo as far as I'm concerned, going back to the end of last season. And if you're able to be better than that, and a guy like Vic Fangio is picking you to be better than that, then I have to have confidence in that decision. The bigger thing for me, for the long term of the Philadelphia Eagles, is that Quenyon Mitchell can flat out play. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. So if you can play on the inside as a nickel, and you could also play as a corner, that means that there are three positions that you could potentially play here for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not rooting that he is constantly moved around, but that versatility is a nice box to check. If not just from the versatility that you need to be a corner to the versatility you need to be a nickel, but also by Vic Fangio's definition, if you're showing versatility at nickel, that means you can also play a safety position. It seems like Quenyon Mitchell could certainly excel at the first two. And if he can excel at the first two, including nickel, that means he can also play safety. I'm not rooting for it. I'm just acknowledging the versatility of a 22nd overall pick. Not too shabby, 21st overall pick by your Philadelphia Eagles. And also, let's get to the obvious, a starter. Nowadays in the NFL, and this is also acknowledged by Vic Fangio, you're talking about a guy that's going to be out there 80% of the time. And Quenyon Mitchell can feel pretty confident in that defense. Progress with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and his injury. Tyler Steen, we talked about the setback yesterday. Mekhi Becton, it looks like he's going to be A-okay after having a little bit of an injury scare. So with that being said, I think your offensive line is set with Cam Jurgens as your center and Mekhi Becton as your right guard as things, again, pull focus ahead of the final preseason game going into this weekend, Saturday, against the Vikings. And then one more thing, and this seems to be the biggest theme of the training camp, and that's Jalen Hurts. As I've said many times, you're not going to see him. I'd love to see him for a series of the preseason. Not going to happen. Acknowledging a fact. When I think about this season and I think about the top quarterbacks and all that stuff, and I know Peyton Manning just came out with his top, and I think Tom Brady came out with his top 5 guys in the NFL and all that stuff. Jalen Hurts being left off that list, and a guy like Justin Herbert being on that list. First off, I just say that I acknowledge Justin Herbert, and I've said this every time I've talked about him. I acknowledge Justin Herbert is a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. But the amount of people that just grant him permission to be in the top 5, like elite quarterback, I feel like the world is trolling me with the amount of people that put Justin Herbert in their top 5. Like, how is he battle tested? Is he battle tested? I don't think he's battle tested. Jalen Hurts battle tested. Jalen Hurts has already been in a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow, I get. Joe Burrow, very similar to Jalen Hurts, except more injuries, believe it or not. Something people don't really talk about too much. He's been in the Super Bowl. He's lost the Super Bowl. He's looked really good. And then he hasn't looked good. And he's dealt with injuries. But Jalen Hurts, as far as he goes, I see this season for Jalen Hurts. First off, I acknowledge that him being as locked in training camp as he has been, I acknowledge the relevance of that. If this was, I don't know what, year 4 of Shane Steichen as the offensive coordinator, even if this was year 2 of Brian Johnson, all right? Let's live in that universe for a second where Brian Johnson took over all offensive responsibilities like Kellen Moore did. If this was a familiar situation to Jalen Hurts, it would be as big a deal to me. But the fact that he's had so much success in training camp, for as much as you want to put success, emphasis you want to put on success in training camp, but the fact that he has been damn perfect in a new system that was, by the way, once again, 95% different just, 8 weeks ago? I think it's pretty significant that he's not making big mistakes. Talk about a depth chart pulling focus and narrowing. How about the concentration and focus of your quarterback on a brand new offense with a brand new offensive coordinator and a quote-unquote offensive-minded head coach that doesn't really have nearly much to do with the offense? That either shows me that Nick Sirianni just was totally clueless on whatever he was doing with this offense, or that Kellen Moore is just that much more brilliant than I thought. I look at Jalen Hurts, and I think he's poised for another MVP caliber season. I think he's poised for another year where we're looking at him towards the latter stages of the season going, wow, we got 1 month left in the year, and Jalen Hurts is the second runner-up to Patrick Mahomes right now. He's the runner-up to Patrick Mahomes for MVP. Jalen Hurts is the MVP of the NFL going into week 13, whatever it might be. We could be looking at that again. And not just with the comfortability in the play calling, not just the comfortability in the offense and the scheme, the way he's being coached for the checkdowns that we've talked about. All those things are great. But you know what really helps all those things actually look really, really good? Great even? The talent that will make all that happen. There's obviously the number 1, talent in Jalen Hurts. There's obviously the number 2, the talent in Kellen Moore. But then look at the talent on the field. Part of the 11 with Jalen Hurts, with this wide receiving crew, with this tight end when he's healthy, and this running back in Saquon Barkley. Oh, hell yeah. And even listening to Nick Sirianni over this past weekend talk about the idea of checking down and protecting the football and taking what the defense gives them, that is not something I feel at all that Jalen Hurts was coached to do. And one of the things that scared me, if you remember when we went back and we talked to our friends at Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa, one of the things he had talked about is, the interceptions and the turnovers with Jalen Hurts might not be going away in a Kellen Moore offense because he doesn't really give a damn for the most part what the score is. He'll keep going. And that might lead to mistakes by Jalen Hurts. That might lead to chucking it downfield maybe a little too often. And I'm like, can you do it more often than the Eagles did last year? Because last year it was pretty bad. So, and Jalen Hurts acknowledging before the open practice, as we've talked about, the idea of doing what he's coached to do. I feel like that was a very subtle throwing last year's process under the bus. I feel like that was something that they tried to emphasize with him last year, Whether that was Nick Sirianni, probably. Whether that was Brian Johnson, maybe. Coaching Jalen Hurts to be like, if you have the shot, you take the shot. I don't feel like that's a good way to coach. And that came out. That came out throughout last year as well. What they're telling Jalen Hurts to do. What they want him to do, what they coach him to do. And Jalen Hurts this year saying, well, you do. When he was asked specifically about turnovers, he very openly said, well, I just try to do what I'm coached to do. And I'm like, huh, what you're coached to do? Interesting that when you were asked about last year, what jumped to mind was what you're coached to do. If you're Jalen Hurts, I always say this. You want to talk about Howie Roseman having final say. You want to talk about whether or not Nick Sirianni has any final say. Vic Fangio, whether or not he has any final say. Kellen Moore, final say. You want to talk about that final say phrase? Who's got final say? In my mind, if you're the quarterback of a football team and you are the franchise quarterback of that football team and the franchise has invested money into you long term so that you're the guy. No longer is Jalen Hurts the guy? Is he the guy? Do you think he's the guy? Do you think he has what it takes? No more of that. If you're the franchise quarterback, what Jalen Hurts is, and you're under center and you're dropping back, or you're in shotgun and you're dropping back and you're surveying the field and you're seeing what you got, you unequivocally have final say over where that football goes. You shouldn't be dropping back being like, well, they want me to throw the ball deep here, even though we're leading in the fourth quarter. They want me to do it, so I'm going to do it. No. What's the smart play? If you're a quarterback and you're thinking in the back of your mind, especially if you have a lead late in the game, you drop back and you think, what's the smart play? And you execute the smart play, or you at least go for the smart play, you're going to be pretty successful in closing out games. We talked a little bit yesterday about game managers. I certainly don't think that Jalen Hurts is a game manager. If you have the ability to win the game for your team, to be the deodorant to some stank that your team has been emoting throughout the game, if you could be that deodorant, you're not a game manager. You're a playmaker. You're a difference maker. But in the fourth quarter with a lead, I don't fault teams for going a little bit more conservative, trying to control the clock. I don't mind that at all. But I think Jalen Hurts can do that late in the game. I think he can check down. I think he can scamper for a 5-yard gain for a first down to keep the chains moving and possession with the Eagles and not giving it away to the opposing team's offense. He has that ability. You're looking to really put a team out of their misery. Jalen Hurts can do that too by lighting up the scoreboard. And in this offense, they'll have a huge opportunity to do that, both with the talent that I mentioned a second ago and with the coaching they have on the sidelines, the coordinating, to be more specific, they have on the sidelines, and play calling they have on the sidelines in Kellen Moore. So whether it's Isaiah Rodgers being clearly better in Vic Fangio's mind than Keely Ringo, or maybe it's a little tighter, I don't know, but if he's better, then he's going to start. If it's Quinyon Mitchell being a better nickel option than Avonte Maddox, and Avonte Maddox being able to go out there and play a safety position if called upon, then I'll bite. And I think you're going to be putting together one hell of a defense. I think you've already put together one hell of a defense. Not to mention, we haven't even talking about the defensive line. Bryce Huff seemed to be making some strides in that regard. One of the other things talked about in that Tim McManus article was the idea of Bryce Huff making some headway, especially in the run game, as we saw in preseason game number 2 against the Patriots. He made his way to the outside, made a stop in the middle of the field as well in the run game. So I love to see that from Bryce Huff. Jalix Hunt also getting a lot of praise from his coaches and Tim McManus' sources and what that rookie could be doing for this Eagles defense in the very near future. So look forward to all that coming to fruition. One more thing of note, and this is away from the Philadelphia Eagles. One more thing on the Philadelphia Eagles. One last thing for the Tim McManus article. He expects the Eagles to add a wide receiver by the time the regular season gets underway. We could be looking for that magical 2-week period of Howie Roseman being like, all right, preseason's over. What do I need? What can I get my hands on across the league? What 4th-round pick can I trade to get another wide receiver in here? Paris Campbell's dealt with some injury. Johnny Wilson has been good, but not great, obviously. John Ross, was in concussion protocol. Now he's out, but he had to be, I should say more specifically, examined for a concussion against the Patriots. Little miscue with Kenny Pickett on that deep throw when the Eagles were backed up on, I believe it was their first possession against the Patriots. But they could be adding to the wide receiver position. Wouldn't mind seeing it. Why not more competition? Let's keep partying. You know what I'm saying? So look forward to seeing how that plays out. One thing, away from the Eagles now. Thought this was interesting. I talked a little bit about Nick Nurse last week, going back to Iowa, having a camp, a shooting camp for some kids. That's great. He was at another event, sang the Sixers. You don't call it a fight song. Sixers victory song. Clap your hands, everybody. Here they come. Love that. The Sixers are going to Atlantis, which is just funny to say. But they're going to, is that in Bermuda? I don't know. I've never been down that part of the world. But they're going down there for a little like preseason camp type thing. I can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure. That's where Michael Rubin took Joel Embiid all those years ago to go down a water slide for the first time. And Joel Embiid just looked scared as hell. That's exactly where my mind went. But yeah, get this team together as fast as possible. Get this team together as fast as possible. Get that familiarity so that in the middle of the season we don't hear, well, this is a new team. It's still a new team trying to find their way. That carbon copy excuse we hear so many times. Hey, look, it's not that it's not relevant. I believe it for a month or two, but the middle of the season, don't want to hear it then. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Create an account. Use promo code Farzy and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. That's it. That's all you got to do. Terms apply. Remember that. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Create an account. Use promo code Farzy and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. And how about what Game Time is doing right now? Game Time Picks is something you have to check out. It's a new feature called Game Time Picks on the Game Time app that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands upon thousands of tickets. When I want to go to a game, when I want to go to a concert, when I want to go to a comedy show, beep, bop, bop, I punch up the Game Time app. I see what's available. And now, with this incredible Game Time Picks, it makes that process so much easier. Here's also something else I love about the Game Time app. You can toggle features on the Game Time app so you see the end price. So there's no sticker shock at the end at checkout. Hold on, these $20 tickets are now $25? How did that happen? They're $30? What? How? Not on the Game Time app. They let you know up front. You can also view the seat you're buying before you buy it, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. And how about this? You want to go to a concert? You want to go to a comedy show? Maybe you want to save a couple of dollars and still see that big headlining act you want to see, right? Well, they sell tickets for an hour after the event starts. So that means maybe you'll miss the opening act, but you'll see the headliner at a great discounted rate on the Game Time app. That all-in pricing, you can toggle that feature like I mentioned so you can see the final price before you check out. They got the lowest price guarantee, which means if you find tickets in the same section, same row for less money elsewhere, Game Time app will credit your account 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, that's F-A-R-Z-Y, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Farzy for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Before I go any further, let me just say this. I said I was going to talk about Bryce Harper. I'm going to talk about Bryce Harper right now. I woke up this morning and in between vomits from Little Toots, who by the sound of things seems to be doing a little better. Better than my internet earlier in the show. I'm still pissed that Bryce Harper didn't bat. And that's not normal for me. I'm still a little pissed that Bryce Harper did not get a pinch hit in the final game against the Nationals. So I figured out a way where the Phillies could apologize to us as a fan base, or Rob Thompson. Apology might be a strong word. This would make me feel better. Bryce Harper, and I don't think it's too tall an order, but Bryce Harper goes out there and wins the MVP. I'm just saying that now he's got to go for the final month and a half of the season. He's got to go on a tear, baby, where we're saying, thank God he got those 2 days off. Thank God he didn't get one at bat against the Nationals, where he might have struck out anyway. Thank God he didn't play against the Nationals in that final game, because those 2 weeks off, that propelled him to his 3rd MVP trophy. That's right. Screw you, Shohei Ohtani. Okay? That's the only way I'm going to feel better about it, is if Bryce Harper then now goes on a tear thanks to these 2 days rest that he's had. Oh, and JT is on fire too. Just make JT on fire. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get to the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine Tuesday morning. Oh my goodness gracious. It's Tuesday already. Jason A, what's going on? Nice to see you. Jason Alexander, what's going on? Good morning. We're winning this series against the Braves Saturday. I'm attending the Eagles game. There you go, James. Good luck charm that you are. IBH, good morning. April, good morning. Oh, April and Jason A. I got to tell you guys this. I was at Paws yesterday. PAWS. The missus decided it was time to foster a kitten. So there is a kitten in my home right now, along with the big cat, Marshall, my wife's other cat. She has fostered another cat, a little baby kitten, tortoiseshell. Anyway, I can't breathe in my house. My wife said, hey, there's this cat that needs fostering, this little kitten. And she showed me a picture. And I said, oh, that's really cute. And she goes, do you think I can, should we, do you think I said, do you think we should, can I, may I, should I? I think we should. I was like, first off, you keep saying we. And second, yeah, I'm due of a new prescription for Symbicort. So yeah, go right ahead. Anyway. My wife now has 2 cats in the house. I did ask what's the record for fastest failed foster. For those that don't know, a failed foster is when you say you're fostering a kitten or an animal from Paws, and then you end up keeping it. They call that a failed foster, which is kind of harsh. But anyway, yeah. So I think we're gonna be a 2-cat household again very soon, permanently. Jason A, what's going on? Hopefully, Little Toots is okay. Thank you. That's very nice of you, Jason A. We all know how that is for. Hey, yeah, we all been there, right? April, poor Little Toots. Being a dad has to come for. Oh, that's very nice, April. Thank you. She, like I said, I think she's doing a little better. Sean Kilrain, what's going on? Good morning. James Alexander III. All the talks about having the Sixers playing in New Jersey and Delaware need to stop. I would be shocked if the Sixers ever did not play in Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, not the surrounding areas. I saw Delaware. I did see that story about 2 weeks ago. Delaware was like, we're open for business. And I was like, sit back down. Like Jersey, I was like, you bastards. Delaware, I was like, all right, dude, get out of here. All right, we all know about the sales tax. It's awesome. Good for you guys. And your beaches are kind of cool. Oh, wait, hold on. Jay Stay, not happy about Steen not getting the job. Becton would be a better swing tackle. I agree. Look, it's going to be a long season, as they say. I wouldn't be surprised as the season went on if Tyler Steen didn't get reps at right guard, significant reps. I agree, James. They're totally forced Philly to make the. While we're on the subject, I want a downtown stadium. If you're asking me in a general, broad scheme of things, would you want your city to have a downtown stadium or arena? Yes, absolutely. Those are awesome. I love being in cities that have that. I've told you guys many times, all my experience I have in Baltimore, the stadiums, all that stuff. It's awesome. I love it. I have plenty of experience before the stadiums were there walking around, and plenty of experience now with the stadiums being there in Baltimore. Now, Baltimore has its own problems, okay? But I've been in San Diego, Nashville. It's walkable to get to the downtown area from the stadium. Trying to think of just some other places off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've been out there, but it's great. I love it. It's fantastic. Wrigley, goodness, great. Wrigley. Detroit. Now they're coming back to me. You know what? Even though Foxborough is in the middle of nowhere, they did build up a kind of like not outlet. Yeah, I guess kind of outlets around that with bars and restaurants as well. So you at least have something to go to. I don't know if it's similar to Xfinity, but you can actually walk around outside. And I love that. I love people coming into the city, spending a lot of money in the city, and not being able to just leave right away. Like that's the only thing I don't like about the sports complex. The only thing I don't like. But my thing is not just that it's a general idea of a downtown stadium. It's whether or not Philadelphia will be ready for a downtown stadium. If you tell me I'm going to give Philadelphia a downtown stadium, my first thought is awesome. What is the city doing to prepare for that? Traffic flows, crime, public transportation. Are you going to be ready? You had a 9-year head start. What are you going to do about it? What are you doing about people that are going to be displaced? There's a human aspect to this as well. And if all those things are like, oh, that sounds good, that sounds good, that sounds good, that sounds good, then you do it. My doubt isn't with whether or not a downtown arena is a good idea. I think it's a great idea. My doubt lies within the city, unfortunately, and the people making decisions. So you want to give me a downtown stadium? Great. How are you preparing for it? Are the people going to the game, coming into the stadium, coming into the city, going to be safe? Are you going to have plenty of public transportation? Is there going to be a new line? How are people going to get in and out so that the people that don't give a damn about sports are also affected the least? But the bars, the restaurants in the area are impacted in a very positive way because people are coming in and spending money throughout the city as opposed to spending money in one place. Now, a lot of times, like in Sacramento, when they built their new arena, I was reading this from an economist, that people thought they were going to have a great economic development, but you didn't, because all you did was move money around. Instead of money just being made here, it's now being made here, but still in the same city. Like the same people are still getting the money. But with the idea of a downtown arena, people come in, they spend money at this restaurant that's got nothing to do with the Sixers, there's nothing to do with the arena. They're spending money at that restaurant. They're buying things over here. They're touring. They're staying overnight at the hotel. Because one of the things I don't like is the idea that it is so easy to get in and out. I don't like that. I want people staying. I want people spending that money. Anyway, that's where I'm at on that. Big Rhythm, what's going on? Farzi versus Cilio on Nakobe Dean. What, does Dan not like Nakobe Dean? Or does Dan like Nakobe Dean? I don't think we've talked about Nakobe Dean yet. Maybe next time we'll talk about Nakobe Dean. Sixers should play at Camden. Plenty of riverfront property of the Philadelphia skyline. I mean, now that still sucks. Dude, how do you think a city like Philadelphia is going to handle? Like, for instance, me. I've lived in Philadelphia. I'm just going to use myself as an example here so I don't throw anybody else under the bus. Take me, for example. I lived in the city for 20 years. Lived in the city for 20 years. I'm from Ambler originally. I grew up in Doylestown. If I even say, which I never do because I know how parochial a city it is. If I say I'm from Philly, that somebody who is physically from the city vomits. Like, like every time this happens, an angel gets its wings, every time someone who's not from Philly says they're from Philly, some person from Philly throws up. Like that. I heard it. Like that's what happened. Now my daughter is from Philly. Maybe that's why she's throwing up because I just said that. No. She was born in the city. Could you imagine the Philadelphia 76ers not being from Philly? Can you imagine that? How many people's heads would explode? They'd go to break ground on a new arena in Camden, and it would be this whole Sixers fan base. Daniel, what's going on? How are you? Happy Tuesday. Joseph, what's going on? Get it together. Oh, boy, here we go. This is where the internet was going haywire on me. Yeah, Sean, how about this Gershon Ubed guy? He's going to posterize LeBron again. Sixers were looking for a power forward. Sixers move across the bridge. Jason A. Miss Ranger Suarez for sure. Jason A. If the Sixers move out of Philly, I'm done as a fan. Or move out of PA, then I'm done as a fan. Yeah. I think a lot of people would have that idea. Sean, any chance you could pop? Yeah, dude, hit me up. Monday. Hit me up outside the show. I think I'll be good with that. Play-by-play with Jay. The roster for special teams. Yes, I think Britton Covey makes the team. Worried about Dylan, good morning from Boise, the home of Kellen Moore. What's going on, Dylan? Thanks for joining the show. I got some family out in Boise. Almost the New York Jets and almost like the New York Jets and Giants. Yes, exactly. But they still love their teams. I'm missing 08 when the Phillies won. So do I. Oh, walked the trophy around Lincoln Financial Field. It was an awesome time. Had tickets there. Junior year. Oh, that's pretty cool, Jason. Oh, Crawley. Dan doesn't like Dean. Dan-o. April failed Foster for years. Yeah. Or for sure, yeah. Oh, Jason, my cat of 10 years we got as a kitten. Aw. Yeah, they're adorable. They are adorable. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Morning rush, real simple today. Phillies have Zach Wheeler on the bump tonight, 7:20 start time against the Atlanta Braves down there in Atlanta as the Phillies begin this 6-game road trip. Zach Wheeler will be opposed tonight by Ronaldo Lopez. One hell of a pitching matchup tonight. 2-0 game. JT Real Muto. Bryce Harper. Hit home runs. That's how the Phillies win. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to Jacob Media YouTube channel. And make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel for yours truly, bringing you Phillies postcasts. That's right. I'll be on after every Phillies game, breaking it down for 30 minutes on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Make sure you like and subscribe to that brand new YouTube channel as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. I'll be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia, and then again tomorrow morning right here on the Farzy Show. See you guys then. Bye.